Whenever I hit a certain body fat percentage, I then immediately start a fat loss diet. And I do the fat loss diet for a few weeks, and because I always set only, let's say, 6 weeks, because I always set the body fat percentage ceiling relatively low. Okay, as bodyweight athletes, calisthenics athletes, we need to maintain a relatively low body fat percentage for optimal performance, since it's really relative strength, our strength per pound, per kilogram of body weight that matters. And most of the time we want to use food as fuel. We want to optimize performance, optimize strength. We don't want to limit ourselves most of the time, most of the year. But then again, I know that for myself I have big appetite, maybe it's genetics, I can pack on mass quite easily. I can really overexceed my ideal body fat percentage, where I start to feel that the joints really take too much load, unnecessary load, because I'm becoming heavier and heavier. So I have a ceiling. The number doesn't really matter, that's not the point of the video. I have a body fat percentage ceiling. Once I hit that, boom, I know that I need to go on a cut, and I do that for about, let's say, 6 weeks on average, because I don't have to really lose that much body fat percentage. That's what I advise you to do. And how do I eat for fat loss once I hit that body fat percentage ceiling? It's quite simple. I try to optimize cognitive function, so I have to work, and you have to optimize mood, family, friends, stuff like that. You try to navigate, but mostly work. I want to be sharp for work. Still performance. I still want to improve. Okay, still want to improve strength, add weight, add repetitions, but also primarily losing body fat. I want to keep the lean mass, so it's not like an extreme diet, very rapid, fast diet. It's a relatively short diet because I don't have to drop that much body fat percentage. I try to milk the, let's say, maintenance phase as much as I can, and then do the fat loss diet relatively fast. So I want to optimize a few things, juggle a few things, performance, strength, and primarily fat loss. How do I do that? I start the day with that. So I wake up, okay, 7. Most of the days I wake up at 7. Coffee, okay? Coffee blunts appetite. I consume all my coffee at the first half of the day, and then I shut the caffeine stream down. And then maybe an hour later, another coffee, and then maybe 2 hours later, another coffee, okay? And then the caffeine stream basically stops. But it helps for me to get a few good hours of work in, but mostly blunt appetite at the first half of the day. I know that I don't really feel that I need to eat. It can be the breakfast will be around, let's say, 11 a.m. and I will have eggs, some vegetables maybe cheese, maybe cottage cheese, something with protein. So basically I want to get a high protein meal, a low carb meal. I want to start the day on the right foot. So I know that each day I try to go for 2 grams of protein per 1 kilogram of body weight, especially on fat loss diets. That's for me about 165 grams of protein. Okay, and I will even on a fat loss diet navigate between 165 and 200 grams of protein easily, okay, to try to maintain as much lean mass as possible. I don't aim for that, but I know that I minimum go for 165, and then I just eat whatever from there, you will see. So, but the first meal will keep my insulin low so I don't crash with high protein, so it's satisfying, it's very filling. Usually you are satisfied after a meal relative to the amounts of protein within that meal. So if you will have a low protein meal, you will feel hungry, even if it's a high calorie meal, quite rapidly, maybe 2-3 hours thereafter. So I know that it's a matter of protein, so the breakfast I make it a high protein choice. Quantity really depends on your metabolism, your absolute body weight. I'm relatively heavy for calisthenic athletes. I'm 83 right now. So for me, that's 5-6 eggs and maybe 200 grams of cottage cheese. So I maybe start the day with 70 grams of protein, right? Quite a lot. Low carb. It can be, it's not intermittent fasting. Don't get it wrong, it's not intermittent fasting. That can be 10 a.m., that can be 1 p.m., it doesn't matter. Why? I don't limit myself. Why I don't like intermittent fasting? First, I don't think that skipping a few hours is necessarily intermittent fasting. It's just regular eating, really. You don't really get the benefits of intermittent fasting if you fast for only 16 hours. Or 15 hours, okay? You can call it whatever you want, but it's not really a fast physiologically. But it's just whatever. It can be really, it's a range of hours. I don't limit myself. I know once I call it an intermittent fasting, I will try to, because I've been there, to extend my fasting window, and then it's just, it limits performance. So let's say I'm hungry at 10 or at 9, I will have that same breakfast. If I'm not hungry, I will just go on with my day. But let's say it's 11 a.m. Next meal might be at 3, okay? And it will still be a high protein, low carb type of lunch. So it can be ground beef, let's say. Beef and some veggies. Again, high carb. Still on that grind, still walking. I don't want to really raise insulin that much. I want a satisfying meal, high protein, to set the right tone for the rest of the day. Maybe I will get, in that meal again, some 70 grams of protein, okay? I'm already around that minimum of 165 grams of protein. I don't track my food. I just know overall size, amounts of meat that I consume, how much protein it has, or I have a rough ballpark. And then let's say I train, so that type of diet, which is basically carb back loading, it works best with training around, just evening. Let's say I train at 6 p.m. So I am basically just protein fasting throughout the day until the workout. And let's say at 6 p.m. so I train, work out, and then dinner would be at 8 p.m. dinner. And dinner will be like the reverse meal. It's a low protein, high carb. So tons of, let's say, rice, white potatoes, even pasta, even some bread, 2-3 pieces of fruit, okay, as an appetizer or as a dessert, and then some protein source, but not that much. It's almost like spice the food, low protein, okay, whatever. Again, some more beef, chicken, some fish patties, I don't know, something like that. It might even be, so it might be around 3, something like that, protein, 30 to 60 grams of protein. Again, I don't track, but it's a low protein meal relative to the other ones, and I get around 200 grams of carbs, okay? And if I get enough carbs in that meal, the next day's workout will be fine. If I don't have enough carbs, if you do that type of diet, which I highly suggest for fat loss, carb backloading type of diet, it gets you sharp, you are grinding here, you are cognitively sharp, insulin stays low, protein is high, satiety is high, you're taking advantage of the cortisol in the morning and some caffeine in the morning, then you have to consume enough carbs so the next day's workout and the one after that will not highly suffer. Because calisthenics does work better with like moderate carbs type of diets at least. So you have to get enough carbs, but after the workout, your insulin sensitivity is very high, so you can really absorb all that carbs towards glycogen for that next day's workout. Sometimes the workout will be, depending on the day, the workout might be before lunch, or the workout even might be before breakfast, like a fasted workout, so just coffee and then a workout. But I will still keep the dinner as the high carb meal and relatively low protein, and the rest of the meals will be high protein. So it's still the same eating schedule. So mind you, that can be again 7 p.m., that can be 9 p.m. I don't have a window. I don't have expectations of that. I know that, let's say, if I want to train at 11 a.m., maybe it's a Saturday, I don't know, I will have maybe 2-3 eggs. I can have 2-3 eggs, whereas if I call this diet an intermittent fasting diet and I had a designated time to start feeding myself, I wouldn't have those 3 eggs, which will somewhat blunt my appetite before the workout. Then you really have to question yourself, do you really prioritize training at all? If intermittent fasting is your thing, eating window is your first priority, doesn't matter hunger, and then your training is second. And that's not what we do as athletes. You want to be flexible, but we have those principles: high protein, low carb throughout the day, and then high carb, low protein at night. We have principles. We have guidelines. We don't have like set calories, macros, eating windows. Okay, that will cause you, my experience, a lot of eating disorders. You have to somewhat be intuitive, flexible, and that number, again, I don't know how many carbs I eat. I know that I eat quite freely and quite a lot as well. But as long as I stick to 3 meals, so 3 meals, it feels reasonable for me. It's not extreme. It's not like a 1 meal a day, which I've done the warrior diet for about 8 weeks. I've tried that. But it's not such a high frequency meal that I work at eating and not actually being able to pursue a career in the meanwhile. That's how I eat for fat loss, basically. And the structure is really the thing that is going for me, that high protein, low carb, and then hit the dinner with high carb. If it's post-workout, you get the benefit of extreme high insulin sensitivity. You absorb the glycogen, and then the next workout is a great workout. Try to get maybe at least like 2 grams of carb per kilogram of body weight. For me, that would be 165, but I go even beyond that quite freely. Yeah, that's how I eat for fat loss. I try to lose about 0.5% to 1% of body weight in a week. So for me, it will be like that, kilogram per week. Okay, so 0.4 to 0.8 kilogram per week. And if I go for that fat loss rate, I know that I'm not losing too much muscle mass, sacrificing strength. I know that I have my training log and I still improve strength. As long as I improve strength while trying to do that diet, I know that I'm fine. And if you want to get strong and jacked, we have the hybrid strength program. It is out now. Check the link in the description below if you want strong and jacked. It's a weighted calisthenics and barbell program. Thank you. See you next time.